This meeting is being recorded.
Well, welcome everyone to the first prayer summit for the CSL Palm Beaches Ministry. We're very excited to be participating as your center practitioners. And we hope we have a wonderful program planned for you tonight that reaches the heights that a prayer summit should reach. Reverend Bob and Reverend Judith named this the Prayer Summit because of the higher elevation of thoughts, and also a summit is where like minds gather together in a belief that all healing can occur through affirmative prayer. So welcome to the summit, and we hope from your contributions and thought and support that we can reach new heights together. So I'm Pamela Gray. I'm a new practitioner here with the Center for Spiritual Living in Palm Beaches. And it's my pleasure to be asked to be a part of a team with Holly Labreck, our outreach practitioner. It's been delightful to get to know her better and to see the wonderful vibrancy that she brings to the thought process to educate and uplift everyone tonight. So I'm very excited to be a part of a team. I'd also like to say that this presentation is for all active members for the Center for Spiritual Living in Palm Beaches, but we are also going to have this presentation on the CSL Palm Beaches YouTube site. So we know that there'll be others that are watching this program in the future, and we welcome you as well and encourage your participation in any way that we can to support you as well. So our prayer summit tonight is going to be about practicing the presence of God through prayer. And Holly and I thought it might be helpful to share a little bit about who we are and about the role of a practitioner, and talk about prayer in a little more depth. So again, my name is Pamela Gray. I'm a new practitioner with Palm Beaches, but not new as a practitioner. In fact, Reverend Judith reminded me today that I'm in my 24th year as a licensed practitioner. And a year that changed my life once I became a practitioner, and I cannot imagine having a day without the spiritual experience of being a practitioner. It's immensely improved my life, and I feel has an important role in anyone's life who I have the pleasure to get to know. And it certainly made a difference in the lives of people that I've served over the years. My background is as an educator. I worked as a college administrator and long-range planning, worked with boards and colleges and nonprofits over the years. And I was also an adjunct professor. I like teaching and enjoy the experience. The only reason I didn't become a teacher is it just never paid enough. So I enjoyed building a career in the public sector until I decided to read a book by Dr. Raymond Charles Barker called The Power of Decision, which changed my life and the trajectory of my next career. For 22 years, I was a financial advisor, 13 of which I owned my own private investment firm, and thoroughly enjoyed serving my clients for many, many years, and used my practitioner work every day that I walked in the door. I have since changed my pathway. I'm in a new chapter and am thoroughly enjoying writing, publishing, and speaking, and being of service as an active practitioner. So that's a little bit about me. So I'd like to introduce Holly Labreck, our outreach practitioner, to share a little bit about herself.
Thank you, Pamela. And it's been a joy getting to know you and to work with you. And I'm humbled, very humbled to work with you. So as Pamela said, my name is Holly Lebrec, and I'm from and reside in Canada. I reside in central Canada in the prairies in the province of Saskatchewan. And I've been a licensed practitioner since 2011. A little bit more about my background in different areas is I also have a Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies and a Bachelor of Education. And then I pursued postgraduate work in special education. I have extensive experience in working as a special educator, devising intervention plans to help students reach success. I branched out later into doing trauma therapy. I'm a certified advanced self-regulation practitioner, trained and certified through the Canadian Foundation for Trauma Research and Education. And I work with regulating the nervous system and any activation in the nervous system, such as for people having challenges in regulating emotional and behavioral responses, as well as working with concussion. So that gives you a little bit of my background in addition to my work as practitioner. And whenever I have the opportunity, I am humbled, and it brings me great joy to use my role as practitioner with anyone that calls upon me. So as you can see, and as you've heard, Pamela and I have very different backgrounds. However, even though we have very different backgrounds, the main thing that we have in common as a practitioner is our love of prayer and our love of healing. Mm-hmm. Just as all practitioners, we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences, but that is the common element of all practitioners, is that love of prayer and that love of healing. And on that note, I'm just going to refer to what CSL Palm Beaches, how they define what a practitioner is. So it is, a prayer practitioner is a licensed spiritual support person trained to use the power of affirmative prayer to help you deal with challenges or opportunities that come your way. I'm just going to move on into sharing from this book on prayer. It's called Prayer by Ernest Holmes, if you can see that. And I'm just going to share from the foreword the words written by the Reverend Joel Batinas. Ernest Holmes took prayer very seriously. He meant prayer, specifically the form of affirmative prayer that he called spiritual mind treatment, to be a tool to live a better life. He had the startling and revolutionary belief that all prayers can be answered as long as the person praying knew how to pray right. Answered prayers, Holmes wrote, are not based on begging, pleading, or good works. Nothing could bring greater discouragement than to labor under the delusion that God is a being of moods, who might answer some prayers and not others. Instead, Holmes believed that there was a way of praying that would not only be answered, but also become a gateway to form a greater connection with the divine. Prayer in Holmes' philosophy is not something that is mysterious and not only for a rare few, but instead is something eminently practical for all who would seek how to pray correctly. By demystifying what prayer is and is not, Holmes makes prayer accessible and empowering. Prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance, but should be an active acceptance of God's highest willingness. Through prayer, we recognize a spiritual law, and that has always existed, and put ourselves in alignment with it.
Well, what's not to like about Dr. Holmes, founder of Science of Mind, the founder of our Centers for Spiritual Living. Now, Holly, there was something that you read that really stood out for me. And when Dr. Holmes said, prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance, but should be an active acceptance of God's highest willingness. Now, that is a really profound statement. So often we think of prayer as beseeching, coming in at the 11th hour. We only do it as a last-ditch effort to recover from something that is not so good. And yet, for Dr. Holmes, he said prayer should be an active acceptance of God's highest willingness. So, as a practitioner, Holly, what do you love most about being a practitioner who is courting God's willingness?
I love the most about being a practitioner. Actually, it's the creation, the creativity. As Holmes states, to be spiritual is to be creative. And that's what I love. I love being creative. I love changing and transforming my life to the better, but not only my life, but the lives of others. For we are spiritual beings.
Well,
and how about yourself? Oh, sorry about that. How about yourself?
Well, for me, I think what I love most about being a practitioner is the realization that someone's life can be better. I'm oftentimes, people will say, Pamela, I just can't keep up with all the things you're doing. But I also engage as a practitioner in the thought of all the things that you can be doing, will be doing, are doing, and how exciting it is to see the fulfillment of people's heart's desires, fulfillment of their goals and aspirations being accomplished through an active engagement with prayer. And, when we think of prayer as God's willingness to give us the very best of what is abundant and available that can fill up our hearts, that's very exciting to me. Even before someone utters what their goal is, I already hold in consciousness that goal has already been accomplished in God's mind.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. Thank you. So, if that's all right, I'm actually going to read a little bit from Practicing the Presence by Joel S. Goldsmith. You can see that. And this is what he writes. One of the most comforting passages in Scripture is, "My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you." If we could spend a month with that statement, it would open up a whole new world to us. We might ask ourselves what we know about peace. We all know the kind of peace that the world can give, but that is not the kind of peace that we need. Many of us think we would have peace if we had enough supply, or if we had our health, or if we had the right kind of companionship. That might be true, but having those things does not guarantee that we shall not be disturbed about something else. As long as we look to people and situations for peace, we shall fail to find either enduring satisfaction or peace. My peace, not as the world giveth, but my peace. My peace is a gentle spirit which wells up within us and has no relationship to the state of our affairs, although ultimately it settles all our affairs.
Mm. Mm. So that's very powerful. I love Joel Goldsmith. I especially like what he says when he says, as long as we look to people and situations for peace, peace of mind, a peace that brings us a sense of comfort and well-being, we shall fail to find either enduring satisfaction or that peace. That's quite remarkable. So often we're troubled by the world around us or situations, affairs that may be confronting us or someone we know. And when we look to the outer world to satisfy that peace, what I take away from Goldsmith's work is the satisfaction can evaporate like the dew before the morning sun. It can come and go as quickly as it appears. So in finding that peace, what exactly is practicing the presence? After all, our topic today is practicing the presence of God through prayer. So if we conceive that my peace is a gentle spirit which wells up within us and has no relationship to our state of affairs, but ultimately will settle all of our affairs, what does practicing the presence mean? So Holly, I ask you, what does that mean to practice the presence of God in prayer for you?
For me, practicing the presence is, there's a simplicity, and all my spirituality practices are based on simplicity. I find the more basic and more simplistic I get in my practices, the more that I'm able to fit them in everyday life. So for me, it's joining my heart and my mind together and going within to that sacred holy space, finding that solitude within. And that is where I can tap in to that creative source of God anytime, anywhere. And it can be in solitude, it can be in a crowd of people, it can be even in a song that I hear or when I'm singing a song, but it's that tapping inward. How about yourself?
You know, you would think as a practitioner, from 4 years of training, all the classwork, the interning that you do, you would think you would walk out of practitioner training knowing it all. And I have to say, it amazes me how a phrase or a discussion can open up a whole new understanding of something I learned, maybe something I memorized, but I didn't really absorb it. And to me, practicing the presence is one of those qualities of prayer that has been most recent for me. I know I followed all the steps. I know I did everything correctly. But to me, practicing the presence is truly inviting God into my prayer. So what I enjoy most about practicing the presence is pretty simple. It's asking God to be present. When I was raised in a different denomination, God was always somewhere else, you know, in a throne on high or off solving someone else's problems, but certainly not mine. So practicing the presence, I believe today, probably more strongly than ever, if I don't ask God to be present in my prayer or wherever I am, in that busy meeting or traveling to a commitment or being with friends, whatever it may be, if I'm not invoking God to be present and saying, God, I need you to be present, then to me, I think my prayers have been a little hollow. You can think it, but you have to really feel it. So for me, my prayer work doesn't just get started and end quickly. I have to feel that God is present. And that may take a little time. Now, some of the things I may do would be to have a quiet place, or I just commit myself to being in prayer at that moment, which is always important. I have to make it a very conscious thing. I'm doing a prayer right in this moment. So to cultivate that relationship with God, to court God, as I like to call it, is probably for me now the most important of all the steps.
And I appreciated what you said, how it changed over time. The longer were a practitioner, how that comes. So get that feeling and just more of the focus on expanding our consciousness. It's that the awareness and the feeling. The feeling is the power behind our prayer.
Well, I've always thought of the 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment, or what we call affirmative prayer. I always thought of that as being like a formula. And a good statistician, a good scientist, we follow formulas. And that's fine as formulas go. But back from behind those formulas, we have to remember we're dealing with energy, we're dealing with intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the definition of intelligence a few years ago that really kind of set me back on my heels. And it was the definition that was given to me by Reverend Dr. Lloyd George Tupper, a great practitioner himself, minister of 54 years, very knowledgeable. And he asked me a very important question. He says, Pamela, do you know what intelligence is? Well, I thought, well, gosh, surely I should know. Of course, it's accomplishment, it's achievement. I threw out several different things. He patiently waited for me to finish, and he said, Pamela, the definition of intelligence is responsiveness. Wow. I had to think about that, because I wasn't expecting him to say that. But it was a profound realization to me by hearing that. Because practicing the presence is the very essence of responsiveness. And as we're responsive to God's presence, it activates our intellect, it stimulates our imagination, it opens us up at the top, as Dr. Holmes would say. So those two things together, responsiveness and practicing the presence, are really one and the same thing. And by tuning myself into those, or being attuned, has greatly enriched my prayer work, and I really believe have changed the quality of my demonstrations, changed the quality of the demonstrations that others have achieved.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that, Pamela. Mm-hmm.
So
How-
anything else you would want to add, Holly, to
That's
practicing the presence?
that you said it all. You said it perfectly. Wow, that's brilliant. I wouldn't even want to try after that. That was brilliant.
So for all of you, as you think about the importance of prayer in your life, we encourage you to think about how you can practice the presence. Think about your relationship with the God of your understanding and what you're inviting God to do and where and to do what. To give that opportunity to have a different experience in life. You know, God does not give us things. God gives us ideas, which we use and employ to give us greater results in our lives. So as we open ourselves to an opportunity to have that loving presence, that comforting, warm, soft presence that God is, recognize that ideas that flow from that presence are gifts from God. They're a demonstration unto themselves and are a demonstration that you have practiced well. So for the next 7 days, Holly and I are going to be practicing the presence for each of you. And for those of you who are viewing this program after the fact, we encourage you, we encourage our members to reach out to cslpalmbeaches.org. Reach out to our center through our website. And on that website, you will see a very important heading called Spiritual Coaching. That's where you'll find Holly, myself, Reverend Bob, Reverend Judith, and our other practitioners affiliated with the Center for Spiritual Living at Palm Beaches. And we encourage all of you to please send your treatment requests to us. You'll see our emails there, and we invite you to write us personally. Holly, should you write Holly, or should you write me, we will be sharing your treatment work together. And for the next 7 days, we will be in prayer on your behalf or on the behalf of someone you love and care about. Beyond those days, we also encourage you to reach back out to the center at any time and write us or call Reverend Judith or Bob. Please allow us to be the healing part of our outreach and service to all of you. That's what practitioners do. As Holly read, and I think it's worth repeating, what you'll find on the CSL Palm Beaches website is a crystal clear description of what a practitioner is. We're licensed spiritual support individuals trained to use the power of affirmative prayer to help you deal with challenges or opportunities that come your way. And we always know, pretty much guaranteed, they'll always be coming our way. And we're always going to be here for you, bringing comfort, bringing encouragement, and bringing the power of the presence of prayer on your behalf into your life. I want to thank Holly for a remarkable journey to bring this prayer summit to your home and into your life. And Holly is going to bless every one of us with an affirmative prayer to help all of us practice the presence of God in our lives in new and in amazing ways. So we welcome your outreach to us. We hold you in prayer and love. And I turn to Holly to now bring us the opportunity to hear a beautiful affirmative prayer. Now, before she does this, I want to remind everyone, the prayer summit will be held monthly on the second Monday of each month. So July 10th at 8 p.m., we'll be here again to support you, to encourage you, and to be part of the outreach of Centers for Spiritual Living for Palm Beaches. So on that note, Holly, won't you bless us with your affirmative prayer?
I invite you all to take a deep breath in. Close your eyes if you so wish. And joining our hearts and our minds together, let us take a moment to go within to that holy sanctuary that I call home to God. There is only one God, one divine power, one divine presence, one divine intelligence, one divine essence that I call God. I am so blessed to be one with this divinity. It is the sun. It is the moon. It is the mountains. It is the valley. It is the wind on my face. It is each droplet of rain. It is the star in the sky. It is the constellation of many stars shining brightly together in the darkness. It is me. It is the I am that I am. And I am so blessed to be one with this divinity. And it is through this oneness that I know the truth for myself and each and every person here today. I know that there is only good, for there is only God. And I know that we bring this peace wherever we go. This peace of God, which is a godlike quality, is in us and it emanates from us. I know that all is well and that magnificence unfolds for each person here this evening and everyone listening in. I know that God's peace settles all our affairs. It's that gentle spirit that wells up within us. And I know that this peace, practicing the presence of God through prayer, is a life-changing experience. And we see it, and we feel it, we experience it. All is well. I know that a soul in the state of peace has nothing to fear. And it is therefore with great grace and great gratitude that I give thanks for this truth. I give thanks for this teaching. I give thanks for the Centers for Spiritual Living Palm Beaches. I give thanks for this goodness of this unfolding right here and right now. Thank you, God. And I now release my words into the law for spirit always, always, always says yes to me. And so it is.
So it is. Amen. Thank you, Holly. Beautiful. Beautiful. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening for our very first prayer summit. We've elevated each other together in our spiritual consciousness. We look forward to having you join us again at our next prayer summit. Good evening.
Love you